starting lineup, but this has been a long time coming, to say the least.
Yes, yes. It's been some scheduling
So,
difficulties, but we're here.
yeah, exactly. We finally made it. So, I just want to quickly do one thing before we get into free agency. I just want to do a quick little recap from last year, and I have the standings in front of me from basically first to worst. I was going to name off the teams, their record, and then just give me your thoughts on your summary, more or less.
Sounds good.
So the Panthers finished with a 2-15 record. They only had one division win. Very poor season. Honestly, for a team that I'll just say this real quick, for a team that competed with Tampa just a season ago, and if they had beaten Tampa in Week 17, they easily could have won that division. To go from that to 2 wins, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to be expected. You're throwing a rookie quarterback into a situation that is not good, to say the least, right?
Yeah,
You don't have the weapons to help him succeed. So
yeah,
it's to be expected. I think there's going to be growing pains, but I think in the next year or two, they could get up there in that mid win range, like 7, 8, 9 kind of range.
yeah. I would hope so because I mean, who's their quarterback? Oh my gosh, it's
Bryce Young.
there we go. So, I mean, for a rookie quarterback to come in the league, you're not going to have that much success. I mean, look at I mean, there's been a few flukes from here from time to time, but it's been very scarce for a rookie to come in and just dominate right away. So, it's growing pains, but I'm sure they should improve. Alrighty. Cardinals 4-13.
I don't even have a whole lot to say about the Cardinals. I mean, they didn't have Kyler, so for most of the year, which I mean, not having your franchise quarterback, your options are limited. So I mean,
Yeah,
when he came back, he looked good to me. So I like to see what he does next year. So hopefully he has a nice year and can stay healthy.
yeah, exactly. Health is a big issue. The Patriots 4-13.
Where do they go? Draft a quarterback. That's what I assume. Max gone. I guess Zappy's still there, but I see them drafting a quarterback, and it's going to be weird without Belichick there, but I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, it's Gerard Mayo, isn't it?
Yeah, Gerard Mayo, yeah.
So I mean, I guess he was drafted by them. I saw this tiny little clip, and he spent his whole career with them. And then I guess I didn't realize this because I never paid attention to their coaching staff. But I guess he was like an assistant coach
hmm
with Belichick's crew. So it's like he's always been with the coach. It's crazy.
Yeah, he was the linebackers coach because that was the position he played when he played for them was the linebacker, and he was fun to watch. I remember watching him when I was younger, so it's cool to see him being a head coach now.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember. Actually, I don't want to touch on this subject because this is kind of involves like race, and I don't want to start anything. Don't want to get kicked off YouTube, so forget that. So the Washington Commanders, they had the exact same record, 4-13. What were your thoughts on them?
I expected greater things, to say the least. I thought that Sam Howell was going to have a breakout year. He
Yeah,
didn't. Now he's a Seahawk, so I don't know. I don't know who their current starter is. They're
call back
probably
Alex Smith.
they're probably going to draft someone. Is the previous season? I expected a lot more out of them, to be honest, and it was It was a disappointing season for me, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought they would have had at least a 7-win season, but to see them go 4-13, that was wild.
Yeah.
So this is a team that took a major drop off because they made the playoffs last year. The Chargers 5-12.
Yeah, that what a collapse. I mean, and it seems like it's year in and year out that they either lose big games or they're injured like crazy.
Yeah,
So, I mean, last year again you had Mike Williams go down. Your whole defense was battling injuries all year. Eckler looked slow. He looked like he had just mud on his feet. Oh man. It Charger's gonna Charger. I mean, I'm excited to see where the new coaching staff leads them. So I'll be interested to see.
yeah. Their coach got fired after they got blown out by the Raiders, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got the snips real quick.
Because it was like 42-0 or something. It was a stupid score by like halftime. And then I saw this guy made like a Facebook clip, and he's pretty much just poking fun at the situation. But man, like I know what it's like to be on the blowout side, and it sucks. But I couldn't imagine that coach. He was probably fired at halftime. Like they're probably like, no, screw this. Like we're done with him because I think he was fired the next day.
Yeah, it was the next day that he got let go. I mean, could you imagine going into halftime and management's like, "We gotta talk to you real quick. After this game, you're done."
Yeah,
Like, what do you even do?
yeah. You'd have no motivation because it's like even if we miraculously come back and win, I'm still fired.
Mhm.
So it's just like, do I even care? No, I'm still getting paid.
Yep. Exactly.
Just run the ball, boys, for 30 minutes. So the Tennessee Titans 6-11.
The Titans are one of those teams where it's like, "Oh, they're in the league." I don't remember the last time I watched a Titans game. I mean, I'm Levis is exciting to watch. I think that he is probably the future of that team. I think that he can lead them to success. Henry's gone now, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare there. But it seems like we're hitting another period of transition from old to new. Like we had that where, Peyton Manning retired and now Brady's gone and Drew Brees and all those guys. And I think it's another kind of step in that where we're losing these guys who have been on these teams for 7, 8, 9 years. And
Yeah,
now they're, you know, getting to that point where they're in the career or late in the career and nobody wants to pay them the big bucks. So I think it'll be fun to see the young Titans and what they do.
yeah, no kidding. I wish them nothing but luck because I mean the last time they had made like there was a time where they made the playoffs like 3 straight years, but it's not like they got bounced in the first round or the divisional round, so they never made any noise. I think they went to the championship game back in the 2019-20 season against the Patriots, but that was when Tannehill was good. He's not on the
Mhm.
team anymore, is he?
I think he's still there, yeah.
Is he? Well, he's definitely a backup. Like he's not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be the starter because, like you said, Levi or Levi's, whatever his name is, he should be the quarterback of the
Yeah.
future. The New York Football Giants.
Where do you even start with the Giants? Danny Dimes? What are we doing? Guys getting paid 50
He's
mil
got a cool agent.
guys getting paid 50 mil a year to do what? I don't know. I mean, I hope he bounces back next year for Giants fans' sake. I mean, you're paying that guy a massive house to play football for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I really hope that he can bounce back and at least show them some sort of winning.
Yeah, no kidding. I guess someone named Vickle Gamer just said hello. So if you're still watching, hello. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, you got that guy, and like I said, his agent. So I guess he's like a Hall of Fame like coach from like Europe or something like that. So like this guy's got credentials, I guess. And then you got Daniel Jones, who you're paying a lot of money for like underachieving quarterback.
Mhm.
So, but we'll see what their future holds. So this one caught me by surprise, and obviously, I think it was the first series that he went down and he was done. I'm sure you're gonna know who I'm talking about. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, 7-10.
Yeah, I mean, this past season, I mean, as soon as Rodgers went down, you kinda knew that the season was a wash. It's kind of, "Let's hit a reset, let's develop our young guys, see if they can, pick up some more stuff in this offense or defense, and, gear up for next year," is the way that I seen the Jets this previous season, after Rodgers went down, so I think it'll be fun to see what the Jets can do. I seen they brought Mike Williams in, so it's a huge deep threat for Rodgers. I think he'll pair great with Garrett Wilson. As long as he can stay healthy, I can see them both having really strong seasons.
Now, it's been a rocky relationship between like the Jets fans and I always screw his name up, but Zach Wilson. If God forbid something happens to Rodgers and he goes down again, is the team at are they at like the breaking point with this kid because like he's always had a sour attitude. He's never proven himself to be a leader. So if he is the quarterback for this year, like I said, hopefully Rodgers comes back and has a healthy season. But if he goes down, do you think they're like, man, if this guy loses one game, like kick him out? Like, are they at that breaking point? Do you think if you're a Jets fan?
He's got about the shortest leash that you could possibly have. I mean, yeah, if he goes into a game, like let's say, Roger starts, all of a sudden, third quarter comes around, he gets hurt and is pulled. I think if Wilson throws an interception for the rest of that game, he's gone. I mean, that guy's on probably the shortest leash there is. I think I mean, I'm surprised he's still with the team, honestly.
Yeah, he was a first overall pick, wasn't he?
Second overall.
Okay, so he was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he hasn't proven to me to. I mean, I'm sure he was great in college, but just like with any sport, you might be great in your division, but when you hit pro, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars, and they want to sack you. They want to hit you. They want to make your life hell. I mean, anyone would take that contract.
Yeah, it's a completely different game when you go from college to the pros. I mean, in any sport.
So the next team we'll take a look at are the Falcons, 7-10.
Oh, I'm excited for the Falcons this year. Let me tell you. Oh boy, time to get Kyle Pitts back on my fantasy team. Come on, Kirk, lead me to the promised land. I think if we're talking previous season, I put the Falcons in kind of the same range as the Titans, where it was like the first couple weeks it was kind of, oh, I wonder what these guys are gonna do, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, I guess if they're playing on a Thursday night, I'll pop it on. But again, it's they didn't have a quarterback that was going to help them succeed, and I think bringing in Kirk is a huge move for them. I think all three of your young stars in Pitts, London, and Bijan, I think they could all have huge seasons this year, and I could see them being a sneaky playoff team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you don't pay Kirk Cousins that much money in 4 years. You don't think you're going to be competitive. Like, I could easily see them getting the division. They easily the quarterback, so they could be a threat in the future. So a team that started off very poor, they made a respectable run with the Chicago Bears, and obviously some off-season changes. Just your thoughts on the past season.
I wish that Justin Fields got his shot. I really do, because I feel like we just didn't see enough of him. I mean, he was still developing, and I understand that at some point you got to be like, clearly this isn't working. So I understand that they let him go, and hopefully he can find success either whether it's with the Steelers or another team. But I just feel like they should have, you know, maybe written up some different plays, seeing if they could get something to unlock his potential. But it is what it is. I think that the Bears are going to be pretty good this upcoming year, depending as long as they draft Caleb Williams, they'll be good. So
just who has the number 1 pick? It's Panthers,
the
isn't
Bears.
it? Because of
The
that,
Bears.
yeah,
The Bears have it.
The Bears have it.
The Bears have it.
Didn't Carolina give the Bears DJ Moore?
Mm-hmm.
And a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I thought they got the first-round pick because of
the
them.
Bears have the 101 and another top 10 pick. They have 2 top 10 picks this year.
That is nuts. I remember seeing a picture like that, but I thought it was like a spoof. I'm like, there's no way the Bears have 2 picks in the first round. I said, Why should have had 2 picks?
They have 2 picks in the top 10.
Oh, they got 2 picks.
Because they got Carolina's first, and Carolina finished last. So that's how they have the first pick.
Okay.
And then they have their first rounder for, I think, wherever. I think it's 9 is where they're picking.
I think so. Okay, that makes sense. But still, that's crazy. You wouldn't think if you're giving away a number 1 wide receiver to another team, you'd be also trading your first-round pick. That's nutty.
Well, it's because I think they got the pick for Bryce Young.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have to give up. Yeah, well, man, that's for in the future. Then, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was when I saw that, I'm like, this has to be a spoof. But no, if you just describe the trade, that makes sense. The Bears got 2 picks. That's nuts. Holy crap. So another team in their division, 7-10. Obviously, Kirk Cousins isn't there anymore. But your thoughts on the team last year?
Last year, I think they were one of those teams where they were fun, where it, like when Cousins went down, you bring in Josh Dobbs, who just lit it up for like 3 games, and he's just at the height of his life. And, the Pastronaut just going to town for whatever it was, 2 or 3 games. I think they were a fun team. I didn't necessarily think that they were, scary or gonna make a push or anything, but I think that they were a fun team, and it's gonna be weird seeing kind of what happens now without Kirk there. I'm not even sure who their quarterback is.
I have no idea because I think Dobbs signed somewhere else.
Yeah, they brought someone in free agency, but it wasn't a big name or anything.
Okay.
I think it's Darnold. I think they brought in Darnold.
Well, let me look this up because I actually have the free agency signing. Oh, the tablet is really shiny on here, so I'll take a look. So that was the
I'm pretty sure it's Sam Darnold.
is the Vikings. It's Bears, Lions. Yeah, Sam Darnold is the quarterback. Okay, and they signed him to one. Yeah, they were signed to 1 year contract. $8 million. That's actually cheap for a quarterback.
I'm just gonna throw this out there right now because we talked about this a couple videos back, and I was bang on the money with Baker's contract. Man, 3 years, 100 mil. I was right on that. Oh, just figured I'd point that out. I felt good about that.
It's very good. Very good. All right, now I'm not going to say much about it because it's still pretty sour. But the Broncos 8-9. It's honestly, the floor is yours because I've already said my piece.
No. The floor is yours. This is your team.
This was probably one of the worst case scenario seasons ever. I had so much hope last year because of the Wilson trade, and then just the fact that he had 2 years and he was crap. It killed me. And now we have $85 million in money we can't spend. And you could easily get like 2 or 3 players, probably with like $20 million contracts. So I have I have very little hope for this season. Like, I think we might even finish worse than that. We might finish with 5 or 6 wins because I have no idea who our quarterback is. If it's Stidham, he's not going to lead us past Mahomes. I can guarantee you that. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on the Broncos really briefly. If it's Stidham, oh boy, I'm sorry that you have to watch that. But they do have one of my favorite players in the league in Courtland Sutton. Please get a quarterback to show his potential. I think that he's amazing. Get my boy to 1,000 and like 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. I'd be very happy to see that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and he got snubbed in the Pro Bowl, and I guess there was some controversy there because he had a breakout season with Wilson. Because I don't like aside from Wilson, he's had Drew Lock, and Lock didn't really prove to be the quarterback. So I mean, just the fact he looked like a stud with Wilson. Yeah, you can't go from like a steak to like a hot dog.
That's true. That's a good analogy.
Alrighty, so a team in the same division, and I was pretty pleased about this. I was surprised, but they had so many quarterbacks. I don't know, and then they ended up getting rid of the guy they just traded for last season, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas. What are we doing, guys? I mean, Jimmy G clearly wasn't the answer. I don't think their rookie quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, don't think he's the answer.
No.
I think they brought somebody in. Don't quote me on that, but I think they brought somebody in.
Take a look.
If it's O'Connell, it's going to be They brought in Minshew?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my goat. That guy, I mean, that's I think he could if it is Minshew the whole season, I could see him getting 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
this previous season, it was just a collapse. I mean, Jimmy G didn't play well. Jacobs did nothing compared to what he did
Yeah.
2 years ago now. Adams, had a good season. I think Jacoby Myers was a great signing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got Max Crosby on your defense, and
Oh my
they
God,
just
scared.
brought in a defensive tackle. Who did they bring in?
All it says is Adam Butler, John Jenkins, and Christian Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins, that's who. He's an absolute beast. Played with the Dolphins. He was one of probably the best. I guess with Donald retiring, he probably is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Like he's really good. So I think pairing him with Crosby is going to be a nightmare for quarterbacks.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm scared to death now. But they got him on a 4-year, $110 million contract.
Yeah.
4 years, over $100 million. Holy crap!
Yeah, he's good. He's special.
Damn, that is nuts. All right, so this team made it to Week 18, lost, and they could have easily made the playoffs or even won the division. Were the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, the Colts were an interesting team for me because I really like Anthony Richardson. I think that he is going to be like a Josh Allen type where look, he can run, he's can throw the ball 80 yards, but there might be a game or, you know, 2 or 3 games in a season where he looks like just not a quarterback, having a 2 or 3 interception game, which I don't mind in a quarterback, You're going to have those super huge games, but with that comes those couple bad games. So I was looking forward to see Richardson play, but obviously he went down and Minshew took over. So I always like to see Minshew succeed, but they're another team that was just kind of riddled with injuries, so it's hard to get a rating on them.
Yeah, it's inconsistent. They should. I mean, if Richardson stays healthy, I think they can easily get to 9 wins again. I mean, they didn't have. They did. I mean, Minshew did come in and win a lot of games for them, but I still felt that Richardson could have led them to easily 9 wins themselves. They should be good, and they could easily compete in that AFC South because that's up for grabs. I thought the Jaguars were going to go back to back. They didn't. They lost, and then the Titans. Well, they fell down pretty quickly, and then yeah, I think the Texans, Colts, one of those two teams could easily emerge as very good contenders for that team. Alrighty, so Derek Carr's new team, the New Orleans Saints, finished with a 9-8 record. They almost made the playoffs because they had the same record as the Packers. But your thoughts on the season?
Again, these middle of the range teams, man, there's just not a lot going for them. Carr was an absolute disaster. I am pretty sure he got cut, actually. Just nothing what I was expecting. I really like Carr in Oakland and Vegas. I really like Carr. All of a sudden he goes to a new team. I thought that he was gonna absolutely sling it, and it just did not work out. I don't know if it wasn't a scheme fit or if he just wasn't playing good, but it was just a rough season for him. And the Saints are getting older. I think it's basically time to crack her down and start the rebuild.
Yeah, no kidding. We should just bring Breeze back and maybe have some type of role. So a team I just talked about were the Jacksonville Jaguars. They should have won that division, but collapsed and missed out on the playoffs. What are your thoughts?
That exact word, collapse. That was, I mean, one of the biggest collapses we've ever seen. I'm pretty sure they started like 8-2 or something like that. Like they started hot. Looked like one of the best teams in the league. And I really don't understand how they collapsed that bad. They had the pieces and they just couldn't put it together. I really don't know what else to say. I mean, it was just, I don't know how you have that good of a team who succeeded early in the season and the season prior, and then you end up there. It's just hard to see.
Yeah, and I kind of saw the collapse happen when it got to like the last couple of weeks. I'm like, man, if they just keep losing, that this division's up for grabs. And
Hmm.
yeah, before now this team should have made the playoffs. I think I may have predicted that they could have even been to the Super Bowl, but unfortunately, the quarterback got hurt. The Cincinnati Bengals 9-8.
Yeah, it's really hard when you lose a player of Joe Burrow's caliber, right? It's like if the Chiefs lost Mahomes, you're not the same team. It doesn't matter who you bring in or anything like that. It's just you're not the same. Um, I think when Burrow was healthy, they were a really strong looking team. I think it'll be interesting to see where T. Higgins. I don't believe he's been traded yet, but he did request a trade, so I think it'll be interesting to see how that kind of works without him there. How well of a season uh, Jamar puts together without that kind of, you know, wide receiver 1 and 2 punch that they had. So I think leading up to this season, it'll be fun to see. And with this past season, I think they looked good until Burrow went down.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because I think they easily could have gone to like 3 championship games in a row. They're that good of a team.
Hmm.
So the team that did make the playoffs and surprised even myself. I didn't. I think I predicted they'd be good, but not this good with the Packers 9-8.
Yeah, Jordan Love. What else is there to say? He had a breakout season. I'm really happy for him, honestly. I don't know how the Packers keep doing it, but I mean, that's what three quarterback stints in a row that look like they're going to be a 5 to 10 year quarterback run. I was really happy to see Jordan Love succeed because I I feel like if I was a player who got drafted and I barely saw the field for like whatever it was 2 or 3 years,
Yep.
and all of a sudden you get your shot and you end up playing good, I bet that was the best feeling in the world.
Of course. And if he can have as good of a career as Rodgers and Favre, that would be 3 straight Hall of Fame quarterbacks
Mhm.
that you've drafted. Or well, I know they traded for Favre, but 2 that you drafted, but still unreal. Like I know I'm sure it's not the same group of people because that would have been like a 30-year thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're geniuses when it comes to trying to find quarterbacks. So a team that your guy obviously signed with in the offseason, the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield 9-8, winning the division.
Let Baker bake. That I mean, oh, you love to see it. Guy gets his money, takes his team to the Did they go to the playoffs? Yes. They won the
Yep,
division. Yeah, they beat the Eagles. I
yep.
mean, come on now. You love to see it. I love to see Baker succeed. The Bucks as a whole, they lost some key pieces this offseason, so it's going to be interesting seeing if they can keep pushing for that division title this year. I don't know if they'll
Yep.
be able to. I know that they got Evans and Baker back, so I think their offense could still be quite good, but it'll be interesting on the defensive side of the ball just because they lost some playmakers over there. So um, this previous season, I was just really happy to see Baker succeed. I don't have too much to say because all I really care about on that team is Baker Mayfield.
It's Baker Mayfield. There you go. It's his team. So a team that finished with the same record as the Packers and the Saints, the Seahawks, finished 9-8.
Yeah, so the Seahawks are I felt like they could have gone either way. They could have just absolutely plummeted and gone like 3-14, or they could have won 11 or 12 games. And they proved me wrong and ended in the middle.
Yeah.
So I don't think Gino's the answer. I think in order to get over the hump, you're going to need to have that, upper echelon quarterback. Who did I say that they brought in?
The Seahawks?
Yeah, they traded for somebody.
I'll take a look.
One of the
Let's
teams
see.
we already covered, they traded for or picked up one of their quarterbacks.
Oh, we're gonna Seahawks, Arizona. How?
Yeah, Sam Howell. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
guy. If I think that this upcoming season will be like Geno will start, and I could see Howell getting some starts at the end of the year, but I think it'll be kind of a year where he can follow Geno and see that kind of veteran look to the game, and hopefully Howell can learn from that. And I'm I'm really hoping that if they keep the guys in place there with DK, and I really like Noah Fant. I don't know how much you like him because he got traded, but I really like Noah Fant. So
I miss him.
yeah, I if they
And
can keep those young guys there and develop Howell, I could see them being quite good in the future.
yeah, no kidding. So a team that I think surprised a lot of people. They have a franchise quarterback. The Texans 10-7 winning the division.
Yeah, I mean, the young guys, it's a new age in the NFL. It's not your 42-year-old quarterbacks lighting her up right now. It's the young bucks are showing out, and Stroud is leading the pack there. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it only goes up from here. You're getting more experience going into this next season. You're getting players back. Um, I who did they pick up? Oh, Mixon. They picked up Mixon. So I think that's a more consistent running game that you can pair with that super strong passing game with Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, all those guys. I think they're going to be a powerhouse this year. And going back to last season, I think that they were just a fun team. You could pop on the TV and there goes an 80-yard touchdown.
yeah,
It's really fun to see the young guys in the league right now.
yeah. No kidding. They'll be a fun team to watch, and I think just like them and the Colts, both those teams should be pretty competitive in the AFC South. So I believe the Texans could easily go to the playoffs again next season. So a team that did make the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure they can bounce in the wild card round. The LA Rams 10-7.
Yeah, the Rams. Huh. Puka is amazing. I think that they've got probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. I, I think Cup may have lost a step from his injury. I don't think it's from his age. I think it's from the injury. So it'll be. Uh, I'm curious to see how he bounces back this upcoming season. I think this previous season was kind of a letdown. It seemed like they had the players to do something or make a kind of run, but it just didn't ever come to fruition. I thought that, I mean, Stafford had a good year. I mean, obviously Puka had an amazing year.
Yeah,
Cup had a good year, and Kyron Williams too on offense had a good year. I felt like their defense was lackluster at times, but overall all right. Uh, I was just shocked to see that they didn't win more than they did.
yeah. I think they kind of underperformed. I know they missed the playoffs, I think, last year. But my only question for the Rams going forward is first, how much longer is Stafford's contract? And do they have a quarterback of the future? Because it's not like he's getting any younger.
As of right now, they do not because this previous year they drafted. I'm sure you haven't heard of him because you don't follow the college side, but his name's Stetson Bennett, and this
Okay.
guy he's kind of this meme online because he's super old for a first year quarterback. I think he's like 26 when he got
Oh,
drafted,
wow.
so quite old when it comes to a rookie.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't really develop a guy who's 27 in his second year for the next 10 years, right? It's hard to do that. Um, I think Stafford's probably got 2 or 3 years left in him. I'm leaning more towards three. I think he's got probably three more. Um, I I'd say probably this year they'll try to be competitive, even with losing Aaron Donald. And then, depending on how this season goes, they either build on that or they sell some players, get some picks, and start the rebuild.
Yeah, no kidding. So I didn't. I think I was crazy in the offseason because I made my predictions for the teams. The next team, I thought they'd finish below 500, but man, ever since he's took over that head coaching job, the team's always finished at least with 8 or 9 wins. The Steelers 10-7.
I hate the Steelers. I'm sick of this Mike Tomlin 500 above 500 record thing. It doesn't it doesn't mean anything to me if you go 9-8 and do nothing. Oh, we're a 500 team.
Yeah,
I don't care. Go win a playoff game.
yeah,
All right. I think people just blow it out of proportion. I mean, yeah, it's impressive, but it's not like winning 2 Super Bowls in a row or something.
no,
Like,
exactly.
I I understand that it's a cool accolade that you've never gone below 500, but you also need to show that you are better than a 500 team.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just above average.
Yeah.
So a team that I thought had the division, but they collapsed and then they lost the last game to the other team, the Dolphins, 11-6.
Yeah, another team like the Jaguars that kind of had a weird collapse
Yeah,
where they at times they looked unstoppable. I mean, obviously you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who are two of the fastest players in the league,
yeah,
and not even mentioning their running backs, who are also probably the fastest in the league. You've got the most explosive team in the league, and it just didn't seem like it worked. I mean, I don't know if Tua was underthrowing or didn't have the arm strength. I seen a couple passes, but relatively, I thought that Tua played relatively well. I think he had a good season, so I'm really not too sure where it all went wrong. I know their defense was quite weak at times, and they did have some injuries in there as well, but I feel like they could have and should have put the pieces together and at least made a little push.
yeah. Yeah, I think I seen a stat that he had, even though they finished 11-6, he had the most passing yards of all the quarterbacks, which is nuts. And I do remember that his name was in the running for
Mhm.
MVP, and he had a very good season. Uh, the only stat that bothered me all year was that he only had one win against an above 500 team. I think that was against Dallas. They beat all the crappy teams, which are what you're supposed to. But when you lose to the Chiefs, when you lose to like the Ravens and all those teams that are very competitive in that AFC West, teams you likely have to play in order to advance to the Super Bowl. If you can't beat them in the regular season, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
So a team that, man, I thought the Jaguars and the Dolphins collapsed. The Eagles, 11-6. They had that division by like week 13 in their hands. All they had to do was just win like 2 more games. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's just a downfall right there. There's no other way to put it. I mean, they looked so they I mean all year they were kind of like I don't know about this team like I remember that they would keep winning games early in the season, but you'd like look back at it and you'd be like they're really close to losing this actually. But eventually it backfired on them, I guess. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It they looked like they could have and should have lost games early in the season, and by the end of the season they were losing those games. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens.
Even if like I'm not an Eagles fan, but even if I was, like finishing 11-6 to any other fan base, I'd be like, oh my god, we're in the playoffs. Like this is amazing. This team should have gone to back-to-back Super Bowls,
Mhm.
but just collapsing. And then they didn't really have that much of a difference. Like they may have had a few players change in the off season a year ago, but for the most part, like that team from the Super Bowl was pretty much intact last year. So it's not like they had a whole overhaul and
Mhm.
they So it just blew my mind about how they collapsed, and then they just got blown up by the Buccaneers. So it's a shame because that was, I think, Jason Kelsey's last game because he did announce his retirement. And I used to I love watching that guy. So
Yeah.
what it is. All right, now this is your time to shine. Your Browns 11-6.
You know, as weird as it sounds, even with that record, disappointing season. It's not what I wanted. I expected more from Watson. I know that he was hurt, but I expected more from our $250 million man. All right. I'm actually pretty sure he's getting paid more than that, but we'll say that much.
That's nuts.
I really love our defense. We don't have the flashiest names in the game, but boy, did those boys make plays. Uh, I mean, obviously they're my team. I love them. I think that I love Amari Cooper. He's probably one of my favorite receivers in the league. Chubb is obviously amazing, even though he got hurt, which really blew. Myles Garrett, favorite player in the league. I think that he's probably can be the most dominant player in the league when he's on it. I just hope that we can build off of it. I think I know that we are keeping the core of the defense. There's a lot of players coming back, so I'm hoping the defense can stay just as consistent. And we're bringing in somebody from your team, so we'll see. We'll see what he can do on the offensive side of the ball for the Browns.
Well, I would hope he has more than 2 touchdowns next year. I'll just put it that way, especially since you guys
Eight,
signed up.
eight of them. 8 of them. Look it now.
In the first 8 games, it'll be 1 touchdown a game. So this team, I felt, took a bit of a step back. I think they finished third. The Chiefs 11-6. Obviously, everyone knows that they went on to win the Super Bowl, but I just felt they took a bit of a step backwards this past season.
Yeah, they definitely took a step backwards, but there's something that you always have to remember, and that is they have Patrick Mahomes. So he showed it again this year. Even without the weapons, he is the best quarterback in the league. Yeah, you have Kelsey, but behind that, for most of the season, there wasn't really anyone stepping up until later in the season. You had Rashee Rice, definitely, who stepped up big. But it seemed like through a good majority of the season that Mahomes couldn't find anybody open. And, they somehow squeaked out the games. Basically, if you ask me, because of him. I think that he's just, when you have a player who's on that other level,
Yeah.
it's really hard to compete with it, because even if you have, let's say, a player like Lamar Jackson, who is really good, has proven that he's an MVP caliber player, there's still that opportunity to contain him. But in my eyes, Mahomes is just so good that he can win any game by himself.
Yeah, he's a beast, and now he's got that dynasty crown because of 3 Super Bowls, and it's killing me inside.
Yeah, quick break from the record side of things. Did you see who the Chiefs picked up for a receiver?
Who did they get? Hold on.
Another speedy guy, which is dangerous.
Oh, good God! I mean, I don't even know who I have PS2 on. Is it? That's probably gonna take me forever to find it. Who is it?
Marquise Brown.
Oh, good God!
Hollywood.
Oh no! Oh, and he's at the very top of the free agency. It's his video being interviewed. Oh my God! Yeah, we're screwed.
That's dangerous. I mean, obviously, Hollywood's not as good as Tyreek Hill. Same kind of player. You got that deep threat,
Yeah.
and you pair that deep threat with Mahomes, and Boy, oh boy, we've seen what you can do with that.
Yeah, no kidding. That's pretty dangerous. I guess someone named Slimemore Goalie said Jello. So Jello, if you're still watching. So man, I feel like this year there's been a lot of disappointing teams with good records, and this was the year I thought they'd finally get over that hump. The Bills, they also finished 11-6, but because they beat the Chiefs, they had the number two. They were the number two team in the AFC. Your thoughts on this team that just is jinxed?
There are 2 teams in the NFL who it seems like over these past 2 or 3 years, it's just bad luck, and that is the Chargers and the Bills. They have an elite quarterback, they've got weapons around them, and it just seems like they cannot get it done. Whether it's close games that they end up losing. I think the one stat doesn't pertain to the Bills, I don't believe, but the Chargers, not this previous season, but the year before, had like 8 losses in 3-point or less games.
That
Like
is nuts.
just super tight games, but just not able to pull it out. And I think that that's the same kind of thing with the Bills. Is they're this close, and it seems like they're missing a piece, but I can't seem to find the piece that they're missing.
You imagine if they got like Hill instead of the Dolphins? I felt like that could have easily put him over the edge because
Oh,
Allen's got a rocket of an arm, and he could probably throw 50 yards down the field, and he could put it into Tyreek's hand. I know, like him and Tua are going to have a fantastic time together. But imagine if the Bills could have got Hill instead of them. I feel like that could have been one of their big pieces right there to help them over the hump. But anyways, so this next team, I want you to talk about them because I know you. I think you were cheering for them. I'll say this real quick. When I made my prediction at the start of the year, I had this team as a wild card team, but they surprised me. Won the division. The Detroit Lions, 12-5.
oh boy, oh boy. The Lions are special. Dan Campbell, that's who I want coaching my team. All right. Even though he made some questionable decisions in the playoffs,
Yep.
I think that he is at the front of that team. He is why that they are who they are. He's got that attitude where I respect you and you're not just a player to me. Um, I think that's the best thing that a coach can do. He shows his players that he wants to see them grow and succeed, and he's just not there for his own personal accolades, which I think is great. They're another very fun team to watch. I love Jared Goff, love Dan Campbell. Um, I think that they can definitely build on it. I don't know if they'll be as good next year, but I think that they could be right around the same kind of range. They were 12-5 this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I could see them getting anywhere from 10 to 12 wins again this upcoming season. So excited to see what they do. Like I said, love Dan Campbell. Hope that he can keep that work ethic in that locker room up and see if we can get something special out of Detroit.
No kidding. I'll say this right now. I think it could either be the Packers or Lions taking that division.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think at this point, if you ask me today, I would probably still give the edge to the Lions just because of the like they were more successful this previous year, but I think throughout the off season that might change.
Yeah, no kidding. So we're down to the top three teams, and this team, I feel like they're always playoffs, but never make any noise. Dallas Cowboys, 12-5.
Let me guess, the Cowboys. It's I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures, but it's like the Cowboys cycle where it's like beat a really bad team, we dem boys, this is our year, and then choke in the playoffs. And just happens on repeat. And I think it's the funniest thing ever because I was a believer this year. I thought this was the year. I was like, oh man, this actually could be it.
Yeah.
Oh, the gods knew what was going to happen. All right, like you can't write it any better. I thought it was comical. Honestly, Like, it shouldn't happen this much, but it does it. I think it will keep doing it. Yeah. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, no kidding, right? What a string of bad luck. So a team that went to the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers, 12-5.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what everyone expected. They Everyone knew that they were gonna be a good team. I think Purdy ended up shutting up a lot of people who said that he was a game manager or he was just throwing the football and the receivers were making all the plays. I think that he stepped up in a lot of the big games that they played and delivered. So obviously he wasn't able to get it done in the biggest stage, but I think without him, like I let's back a couple years, if they kept Jimmy G, I don't see them being in the same position that they were. If you took that exact same team with Jimmy G, I don't see them being nearly as good. I think that Purdy is probably right around that top 10 to 12 quarterback range at this point.
He's very good, and he's proven like he's done a lot of people wrong. I just want to ask you something. So he was the last player. 'Cause it's like the whole meme thing about him being Mr. Irrelevant. How many teams above them are probably kicking themselves in the ass? Like, dude, we could have drafted this guy. He was in the laps.
Yeah, well, not even that, not even how many teams had the chance. How many teams had multiple, like 7 or 8 chances? It's that part's really interesting to me. Is it's like, how does a guy slip through the cracks like that? That I
Yeah,
find really interesting, especially along with like undrafted free agents where these guys didn't even get drafted and they get onto a team, whether it's through practice squad or whatever it is,
yeah,
and they show out. And I think that's awesome because it's like, you didn't believe in me, I'm going to show you what I can do and put my head down, get the job done, and I'll show you what I can do. So
yeah.
I really like those, I guess, underdog stories.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think he'll be a very good quarterback to come. The last team, and we'll go on to your thoughts on the free agency, the Baltimore Ravens. I thought they, just like the Bills, should have been able to get to a Super Bowl. I mean, they had home field advantage. They hosted the AFC Championship game, but weren't able to get it done.
You know how we were just talking about the Cowboys and how they just choke every year in the playoffs?
Yeah,
I I hope that that happens to the Ravens. Them. Again, this is because I'm a Browns fan, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't think that Lamar has that clutch gene. I I know that Lamar is an amazing quarterback, and obviously he's a multi-time or two-time MVP,
yeah,
but I don't think that he quite has that championship pedigree that a Mahomes does, or I'd even give the edge to Josh Allen. I think that he has a higher ability to win a kind of game like the Super Bowl than Lamar does. Um, I don't know why that is. I think that Lamar just maybe the lights are too bright or something. Uh, it's really hard to say why it is, but I feel it just in my gut. I feel that Lamar doesn't quite have what it takes to get that Super Bowl, at least at this point.
yeah. It's a shame, and I mean, you think of someone that wins an MVP, they should be able to have their team in the Super Bowl, but it's more scarce. I mean, aside from Mahomes, it's more scarce than you think. All right, I think we spent almost an hour on this, so I just want to get your thoughts on the free agency. I'm not sure if you have to work in the morning, but maybe want to crash. But yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on any free agency things that have happened so far.
Yeah, I was, cooking up a couple things on my way home because I was at work for a long time today. I was thinking about this, so I've got a couple names up here that I wanted to talk to you about. So
Sure.
we'll start with the obvious. Are you upset losing Judy?
I am because he was a high draft pick, so I had high hopes. So and together, when you have a good quarterback, Sutton and Judy would be an amazing 1-2 combo on any team. I
Mhm.
mean, if you had those two guys in KC, my God, those guys would be winning 20 championships. Like they're that talented. But I mean, I was reading headlines and it was talking about how certain teams might want to trade for him. And I know a buddy of mine was telling me about because he's an Eagles fan, and he was telling me about how there was talk about Judy getting traded to Philly, and I was just like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then obviously the trade happened with the Browns, and that was even more shocking because I'm like, "We're guaranteed to see you guys probably almost every year because uh, like the schedule is so unpredictable. You could play the same team every single year. You could play each other once every 4 years or something like that. So, but I guarantee because you guys signed him, we'll be playing against each other at least a minimum of one time. So, I've said my piece. So the floor is yours. You guys won the trade, so I feel like you should have a lot more to say.
Look, yeah, I like what you said about Sutton and Judy because Sutton is that big play, I'm gonna dunk on you, big big time player,
Yeah,
and he's more of a route runner. He will cut up the defense. And now the Browns have 2 route runners, and I think that that's the dream for how the Browns play because the deep shots isn't really a huge part of the Browns offense. Yeah, we'll hit them here and there, but it's not something like the Dolphins would use, right? Like they're not going to chuck it down there all the time. I think that
yeah,
having 2 receivers who are above average to elite route runners is right what the Browns need. I think especially getting Chubb back with I think play action is going to be a huge part of the Browns game this upcoming year, especially with those 2 receivers now. And I'm really hoping Njoku also takes another leap. So I think
yeah.
Judy could open up the offense a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
So I'll say this one thing. I know in one of our previous chats, I made my prediction for next year. I'll just say this: now that you guys have added Judy, I take back what I said because I was pretty sold on the Ravens or the Bengals competing very hard for that NFC North crown. I will change it right now. Get your pen and paper, jot this down, get a hold of a newspaper company. I think the Browns are the kings of the North. I really do.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. God, my dog's here. What's up, little fella?
What kind of dog do you got?
A little Bichon Shih Tzu. He's just a
Yeah,
little.
nice. Any other big signings that caught your eye?
Yeah, it seems like this was the off season of rivals
Yeah,
because, like, I mean, the big one obviously Saquon to Philly. Uh-oh.
yeah,
Could you imagine? Let's say Jason Kelsey didn't retire, and you get that offensive line and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts in the backfield. Nightmare fuel. Not
yeah.
not just that, you still have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. Huh. I think that
And
I think that losing Kelsey is a lot bigger than a lot of people think because
yeah,
he was the anchor on that line,
oh
right?
yeah,
And especially him being a center, right? Like even if he was, a left guard, yeah, he would still have been great, but not quite what you're looking for.
right.
But I think that it's a lot bigger loss than a lot of people realize.
There was one clip I saw a couple times, and I think it was this past season, and it was basically saying like Kelsey was bossing Hurts around because Hurts was trying to do something, and Kelsey was like, "No, no, no, we're not doing that." So I think Kelsey was like changing the play on Hurts. So it just
Mhm.
goes to show that yeah, Hurts is your quarterback, and you're supposed to listen to your quarterback. But I mean, Kelsey was been in the league for I think like 12 seasons, so he's just as important as Hurts, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, where do they go without him? I'm not too sure. Centers, a decent center is not hard to come by, but an elite center is. So, um, it's going to be weird to see how they kind of adapt to not having that leader on their offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Um, I'm just scrolling through right now, but if there's any other signings that come to mind, I mean, Mitch Trubisky, I guarantee you, he's just gonna be a backup in Buffalo, so it's nothing too crazy. But man, they lost a lot of players in the offseason, like a lot of defensive players too.
Yeah, they did lose a lot of people, and I think the one I do want to bring up just because of how weird it was to me was the Fields trade.
Yeah,
Uh, I really don't understand it because you brought in Russ as the Steelers, and I'm pretty sure they extended Russ because they brought him in on a 1 year, I think.
yeah, and then Denver's playing rest of his contract.
And then they added 3, I think they turned it into a 3 year. So you have Wilson for 3 years, and then you also brought in Fields, which to me, if you bring in Fields, you only play Wilson for 1 year and then let Fields take over.
Yeah,
And it's just really confusing to me. I don't understand why, but the Bears got a bag of chips in return.
yeah, exactly. That was pretty wild. I think he played on the Browns last year. Jacoby Brissett, something a 1 year, $8 million deal with the Patriots. Now, I think we just talked about the Patriots earlier, but I mean, yeah, he played great with the Browns, but I think it's because you had more talent around him than he's going to have in New England. So I don't know if he's going to have as good of a year. If that makes any sense.
Who are we talking about?
Brissett, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, so he's back with the Patriots?
Yeah, it says he signed a 1 year, $8 million contract. He played with the Browns last year, didn't he?
No, Brissett was on the Commanders last year.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was a Patriot, then he was a Colt, then he was a Commander, now he's a Patriot again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's showing him in his Commanders uniform. Okay, I don't know
Actually,
why I thought he
I
was.
think Brissett did have a little stint with the Browns, but
Yeah, I could have sworn he did.
I think that would have been 2 years ago then.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Um, it's gonna bother me now. Stats. Here we go. Anytime something comes up in my brain, it's like I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. So I know career. What is this?
I think he went to the Browns before the Commanders.
Okay, so that would have been the 2022-2023 season.
Yeah, so not this previous year, the one before
Yeah,
that.
yeah, 16 games. Um, doesn't show. I mean, 12 touchdowns and 6 picks. That's not bad. I mean, you still doubled up your touchdowns and picks. But yeah, so him going to the Patriots. I mean, I didn't even know he was part of the Commanders. So I mean, they had what 4 wins last year. So he might not even had a win as a quarterback. Who knows? But I mean, I feel like them going to New England. Yeah, it's just a 1 year contract, so they're probably just testing him out. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to have as good of a season as people think. Now, Tyrod Taylor going to the Jets. That's kind of an odd one.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and I back to the Brissett thing, I think that
Yeah.
I think that the reason they brought him in was for the veteran presence for a rookie quarterback.
Okay.
I because I think that the Patriots will draft a quarterback with their first rounder, whether it's one of like 4 guys that they could take. So I think that he's probably just that veteran presence.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, because you were talking about how they more likely are drafting a quarterback. So since it's like a mentor, that makes sense. Um, so King Henry going to the Ravens. Does this elevate how you just talked about how they're not a championship level team? They don't have the quarterback's good, great, but it's not Patrick Mahomes great. So adding Derrick Henry, does this change the fortune for Ravens?
It's really hard to say just because of how unpredictable I think Henry will be this year. Because let me figure this out real quick. Alexa, how old is Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry is 30 years old and was born on January 4th, 1994.
30.
Ooh,
That's old for running back. Uh-oh.
yeah.
Yeah, so as I said, unpredictable. Um, he could be great. He could run for 1,500 yards again and
Yeah.
20 touchdowns. On the flop side, he could look very slow. He could get hurt. Being a 30-year-old running back who's taken a lot of carries and a lot of hits, it wouldn't surprise me to see him only have 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. It could very well happen. I think him and Lamar complement each other very well, where you have an elusive and a power. It's almost like having a 1-2 punch at running back, with one of them also being able to throw the ball at an elite level. So I think they're going to be a fun team, but go Browns.
Speaking of the Browns, I think we talked about this yesterday, or maybe this the day before, whatever it was. Uh, two quarterbacks signed on top of already having Watson. You got Huntley signed as a free agent, and then you signed Winston to a 1-year deal. So, what's the plan? You're going to play Watson in the first quarter, Huntley in the second quarter, Winston in the third quarter, and then give the fourth string guy a chance. Like, what's
No,
going through
no,
the
no.
mind?
The fourth quarter is reserved for whoever played the best out of those three.
Okay.
I don't understand it at all. I'm probably going to get a Jameis Winston jersey just because I love Jameis. I think he's hilarious, and now he's on my favorite team. So don't be surprised if you see me wearing a Jameis Winston jersey during our next year talks.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. So we're gonna switch things up a little tiny bit. I think he was a member of the Bengals last year, but Joe Mixon, the running back, heading to the Houston Texans.
Yep.
That'll obviously complement CJ Stroud. So how do you feel he'll fit in and with the team next year?
I think that the Texans could very easily be a top 5 offense in the NFL numbers wise,
Yeah.
both rushing and passing, because Stroud's going to sling that rock. We already know that. I could see him probably 4,500 yards, and Mixon, he's really good in the passing game, streaky in the rushing game, but I could see him having a good season right around that 800 to 1,000 yard mark. I could see Mixon getting to. So, um, I'm hoping that the Texans still give Damian Pierce a little bit of action, because I really like him as well, just as a player. So hopefully they give him a little bit, but I'm excited to see how their offense plays out, because I think they could be very, very, very good.
And I don't think they're going to be playing them like 50-50. I feel like it's going to be very heavy for Mixon.
Oh yeah,
And then Pierce will probably get maybe the third down carries. So I just figured this out. Flacco is going to the Colts.
yes,
He has now played in every single division with this signing. Because he played with the Jets, AFC East. He played with the Broncos, AFC West. Obviously with the Ravens and your Browns this past season, AFC North. Now he's signing with the Colts, the AFC South. So all 4 divisions have been covered by Joe Flacco. So obviously
Wow.
he's probably probably going to be the backup, obviously, to Anthony Richardson. Do you like the signing? And if Richardson does get hurt, seeing what Flacco did with your Browns, do you think he could carry this team into the postseason?
Postseason, no, but I think it is a great, great, great signing for the Colts, because having a guy who's been there, he has a Super Bowl, he's been to the playoffs, he's been on winning teams.
Yeah.
I think that he could, mindset wise, really help out Richardson with learning the game and learning how to process the field and go through your progressions. I think that it could be very beneficial.
Yeah, it should be very, very interesting. Now, this one here caught me by surprise, and we were just talked about how the Patriots let go of Mac Jones. He is now
Oh boy.
signed. Oh, your camera shut off?
Hello? Uh-oh. What if I flip it?
We've been talking too long. Your camera's like, that's it, cut off. We're done.
I'm back. Am I back? We good?
No, your camera's still black.
Oh man, it looks like it's good on my side.
Well, I mean, if you want, we're almost done anyway. We can just quickly go through this as long as I can hear you. And I'm not talking to myself. Well, because we've already come an hour and 10 minutes. I don't want to do this all over again. But Mac Jones going to the Jaguars. Obviously, he should be a backup to um, uh, not Blaine Gabbert. Oh my God, Trevor Lawrence.
Not playing Gabbert.
But do you see Jones maybe competing for a starting job if Lawrence struggled? And obviously, maybe that's the reason they brought him in is because Lawrence wasn't himself later in the season this past year.
I think that Mac Jones is more of a worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Like if Lawrence gets hurt, then next man up. I think
yeah,
that he's just there as a backup because he has starter experience.
yeah, yeah. It should be good. Now, this one here confused me because I thought he would have. I thought he was already signed. I didn't realize he was a free agent. Mason Rudolph going to the Tennessee Titans when we obviously just finished talking about how Levi or Levi, whatever his name is your starting quarterback. So again, is this one of them situations where you bring him in just in case Levi goes down, or do you think Rudolph might actually compete for a starting job in Tennessee?
I think it's. I think last year we learned that backup quarterbacks are very valuable, and because I think I read the stat. It was 18 teams had multiple quarterbacks start games,
That's
which
nuts.
shows how important that backup quarterbacks are. So I think that a lot of teams this year have been bringing in those guys who aren't necessarily going to be your quarterback of the future, but can at least sustain a decent team if your starter goes down.
Yeah, no question. So there's only a couple of ones we're going to just quickly touch on. We're just going to go to the NFC real quick. Dallas hasn't done anything really big, and the Giants signed Drew Lock. So Lock's out of the NFC West. He's heading to the NFC East. I mean, he's pretty much the third string quarterback in my opinion because you have the other two quarterbacks. So that signing is kind of puzzling to me. But do you have much thought on Locke getting signed by the Giants?
I really like Drew Lock. I think if Jones gets hurt, I think that it's Drew Lock's job.
Yeah,
I think that he is the QB2 on that team. Um, I think that it could be even if halfway through the season Jones is really struggling, I can see um, Locke taking over.
yeah, no kidding. That'd be nuts. Um, so uh, this was a trade, and this kind of puzzled me. He's staying in the same state, but Kenny Pickett, obviously being a former quarterback of the Steelers, now he got traded to the Eagles. Obviously, going to be a backup to Jalen Hurts. Are you surprised that trade happened? And I guess I mean I feel like when it comes to certain trades, you probably want to trade outside your conference, so that makes sense. But just him going to the Eagles, were you surprised about that at all, or do you thought he should have been a Steeler?
I don't find it surprising. I think they probably gave up on him a little bit earlier than I would have liked.
Yeah.
Um, I do happen to have some sports cards invested in Kenny Pickett, so uh, hoping he does something with his career.
Yeah.
But again, it's the backup quarterback thing. You're bringing in a quarterback who has experience being the starter for a team who was somewhat successful,
Yep.
and I think especially with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who is a multi-purpose quarterback who can run and can throw at the same time, there's always that risk of an injury, and I think having that proven backup quarterback is a huge luxury for any team.
Yeah, no kidding. That's pretty insane. Um, there's not a whole lot of really big names, but the three signings that really confused me, because I think we just talked about the Commanders,
Yep.
was Mariota going there, obviously a 30-year-old quarterback, whatever it is, going to a team. He's only signed to a 1-year deal, so it's not like he's there long term. But then they got Austin Eckler from the Chargers. They signed him to a 2-year deal. I think he's also in his 30s. And
Yep.
then a veteran linebacker, Bobby Wagner, going to the Washington Commanders. So, and then my former kicker, Brandon McManus, fantastic, missed that guy, heading to their Commanders as well. So, out of all those guys, who do you think has the biggest impact on the Commanders? And yeah, I mean that's a lot of big names, but can they all gel? I guess and get this team over the hump?
Yeah, there were a lot of big names 4 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, McManus at one point was probably the best kicker in the league.
yeah,
Wagner was the best linebacker in the league, and Eckler was one of the top backs in the game.
yeah,
And now all of a sudden they're in the latter half of their careers, and the Commanders are young and probably want that veteran presence in the locker room. Is kind of the way I see it.
yeah. That's going to be an interesting team this upcoming year. So just a couple of quick little things, just the running backs. Josh Jacobs, I think we did touch on him at the start, going to the Packers, and I'm surprised I forgot all about this because we were talking about how teams or players have been signing with like division rivals. Aaron Jones going to the Vikings. That one surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too. Um, I love Jacobs to the Packers. I think that's a great move for them, especially with um, the way that their team is playing right now. They're
Yep,
very young on offense, with Love being young. Your receiving core is very young, and Jacobs is on the younger side. He's not super young, but he's on that younger side. So I think they're
yep,
just adding a little bit more youth and proven talent to that team, and I think it could work out really well. And then Aaron Jones wise, I think pairing him with Jefferson on that offense could be good, but it could also hurt both of them because Jones is a really good receiving back, and I think he could take away from Jefferson's game more than he contributes to it.
yep.
It could be completely opposite. They could complement each other really well, but it's just really I'm wishy-washy about it.
Yeah, I mean, Cousins isn't there anymore, so they have to rely on another quarterback to all three of them to gel at the same time. So I didn't even realize this happened. Man, I must just be completely blind. Desmond Ritter got traded from the Falcons to the Cardinals. What's that all about?
I Well, I mean, after they brought in Kirk, there's not really a need for
All in the
Ritter.
room.
Um, and again, another team with a mobile quarterback with an injury. He went to the Cardinals, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah. So again, another team with a mobile quarterback who happens to have a history of injuries, and they're bringing in a previous starter, as their backup. I think this previous year has really shown the league how important that backup quarterback is.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. There's no question about it. So we did talk about him, and I didn't even realize this happened. Jimmy G signed with the Rams. What's
I
your thoughts
al-
about that?
I also didn't know that. I guess it makes sense just because of Stafford's injury history. He's been banged up the past couple of years, so I think that Jimmy G might be just like a placeholder where, let's say Stafford gets hurt for 2 games or something, you have
Yeah,
that quarterback who could go 1-1 in those games. Um, Not necessarily going to take over the team, but can at least maintain where you're at until your quarterback comes back healthy.
yeah. Yeah, no kidding. So it could be a good fit. I mean, it's only a 1-year deal anyway, so it's not like he's locked in long term. Um, cool, man. Well, this has been absolutely a blast. I feel like we could probably talk for hours, but sorry, we're at like an hour and a half. This is pretty nuts. I'm sure were other big names out there that we didn't cover, but I think we did a pretty decent job of covering most of the signings. There was a lot of action. I was very surprised.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I don't know when you'll be free, but I definitely want to talk post NFL draft.
Okay.
So because I know I follow college ball more than you do, so
Yeah.
I'll give you some insight on kind of what I think is good and bad picks. So I'd like to
Perfect.
definitely talk after the draft, see where some other people
For sure.
fall, even maybe sometime before that if you want to get another one in. Maybe wait a week and see where some other free agents land.
Yeah, and if there's any more trades or anything like that, I'm down to talk football anytime of the week, man. So if you want to do this next week or the week after, I'm down.
Sounds good to me.
Hopefully your camera doesn't shut off this
For real.
time. Cool, man. Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time out of this. Oh, my screen just went dark. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me as always. Always a great time to talk football.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, until next time, take care.
Yeah, you as well.
See ya.